part of the first part of the paper is, so why does it occur? You know, why does it occur in the workplace? Why does it exist in my office? Well, clearly we have different people, different opinions, different backgrounds. You know, I come from Terre Haute, Indiana, and from a basically white-collar family, you know, and I could be sitting next to someone who comes from downtown Indianapolis, blue-collar family. We're going to have two different views of life and two different ways of doing things. I have a very great work ethic, whereas the person sitting next to me may work just to get their paycheck and leave at the end of the day. So depending on, you know, how you work or what your opinions are, you know, that could cause conflict. We sit next to each other, you know, maybe we don't like each other's style and we argue about that, who knows? But there's lots of reasons, you know, conflict can exist in my office. Some more would be religion. You know, maybe we don't agree. Politics, maybe I don't agree with somebody. Gossip. I think for my office, gossip is probably one of the biggest parts of why conflict occurs. Like, you hear one thing, tell someone else, somebody else, and you know how the paper or the telephone game goes. You whisper in somebody's ear and the story changes as it goes down, you know, the row. And I think that definitely happens in our office as well. You know, Jessica Chesney in the quality care department, she said this: our workplace is made up of many different types of people: loud people, quiet people, obnoxious people, simple people. Because of all the types of people, conflict is going to exist and it's going to thrive here. Some of the great things I think that brought from my interview with her is that, in her opinion as a manager, she wants to deal with the conflict head on. She wants to make sure that she doesn't leave it under the rug. And she wants to explain how she thinks it is very important for it to be dealt with so that her employees know that she cares, know that it's not just about getting just the work done. When coworker Karen Watkins, in her article When Coworkers Clash, she explains that today as a society we view conflict as a negative thing in the workplace. Most people feel as though they cannot have conflict or they will get fired. She said, chat positive information flows up the organization, negative down. That disagreeing with the boss is a sign of disloyalty, and that conflict in the work group is a sign of dysfunction or poor management. And I think, you know, conflict isn't the best, but I think that's because it's inevitable. I think it's not a positive thing to see. I don't think it's good to see it as a negative thing. I think we need to see it as something to work through, and when you work through it, you can grow as a team. I think idle time breeds a lot of the conflict. We know when we have moments, because we're a car moving company, when things are just really slow, then we're gonna have more time to have conflict. We're gonna have more time to gossip, have more time to get in arguments with each other. So then my second part addresses the recommendations and conclusions. This was my second part of my paper. My second part, you know, basically talks about my plan. The first part of my second part, and I have a six-step plan I want to use if and when I need to as a leader. First of all, I want to acknowledge. I'll go to the next slide. This goes through my 6 steps. I want to acknowledge the conflict. I want to take my employees aside, let them know I know there's conflict, and go through that with them. I want to listen to all parties. So, you know, I can't just side with one person because I'm better friends with them. I need to listen to all parties and, you know, let them express their concern or issue, and then take a step back. I need to let the employees know I've heard them and plan another meeting to discuss it on a later date. This will help me contemplate what is the best plan of action. Instead of making a fast decision right away, this way, you know, I can look in it and see what I think. My next step 4 will be collaborate with the employee. I want them to come up with ideas with me, you know, and then we can take it to step 5, write down the solution. Employees and I will write out the plan, and the employees will take the plan with them. I want to write it, them take it with them, and let them think on it, see how it works out for them, and then step 6, we would get back together and we would discuss the solution. How did it work out? Do we need to revise it? Do we need to change it? That kind of thing. And going back to my other slide, the last part of my paper was consequences in future of dealing or not dealing with conflict. And, I felt like there's more problems if it's not dealt with. You're going to have, if you just say, oh, as a manager, you guys just need to work that out. Well, the way the 2 employees worked it out may not be the best way for it to be worked out. Also, another thing that I thought was really cool, one of my references talked about something that they're starting to come up with, which is a conflict management coach. It's something where you have a coach, you have ideas, you have a coach come in, you talk about conflict, and conflict managing coaching is also known as conflict coaching, has steadily emerged as a practice within the conflict management field. This lets the manager, the coach comes in and kind of helps the manager learn how to deal with conflict and go from there. Finally, just talk about my references a little bit. I used a lot of them off of the website and just kind of looked up conflict in the workplace, anything that kind of referenced conflict in the workplace. I had 25 references in the end. Again, 2 of those being interviews, which I thought my interviews were really well. Elizabeth Payne, actually, she told me her conflict plan. She's the operations manager, and her conflict plan really helped me kind of build onto mine. She has a 3-step, and I thought that which was similar to what I said, but hers requires the 2 people coming together. And I didn't like that idea because I really liked, because I think conflict is more about what's going on inside of you as a person, and I think it stems out and goes on to someone else. But I think if you can help the person realize they need to deal with conflict inside of them and the part they're playing in it, it can help both parties cease the conflict. And then finally, what else could I have done to research better? Maybe found a book, a book on conflict, even like gone and like sat down with somebody who's having conflict with someone in the workplace. If I could have found that outside of my workplace, maybe it was a little more difficult for me to do that in my workplace, just because then maybe I'm butting into something that I'm not supposed to be. But yeah, overall, that's my